Jake has $2.3 billion, and the only person who texted him today is the man he pays $60,000 a year to keep his sneakers in nitrogen-sealed cases. The man texted because a pair needs re-humidifying. Not because he was thinking about Jake, not because he wanted to check in, because sneakers need moisture. And that is his job. Jake's daughter sent a thumbs up emoji to a photo Jake posted 3 days ago. His son has not responded to a message Jake sent 11 days ago. His oldest friend from before the money, the one who used to call every Sunday, stopped calling 18 months ago. Not dramatically, not with a fight, just stopped. And Jake is sitting in the back of his Rolls-Royce, parked outside a restaurant where 14 people are waiting inside to have dinner with him. 14 people who laughed at exactly the right moments during his last speech. 14 people who forwarded his opinions before he finished expressing them. 14 people who want things from him, and not one person who simply wants him. This is the dark reality of being a billionaire. And nobody shows you this part. The jets get filmed, the yachts get photographed, the houses get featured in magazines, but nobody films the back of the Rolls-Royce, parked outside the restaurant, with the head in the hands. Stay with me, because this video is not about feeling sorry for a billionaire. It is about understanding something true about money that most people only discover after it is too late to matter. The loneliness started before Jake noticed it starting. That is the most important thing to understand. It did not arrive suddenly. It arrived gradually, in small replacements. The friend who used to give Jake honest feedback started giving him careful feedback, then started giving him no feedback at all, because the relationship had quietly reorganized itself around the power imbalance that Jake's wealth created. The colleague who used to argue with Jake in meetings stopped arguing. Not because Jake became right more often, but because arguing with someone worth $2.3 billion stopped feeling safe. And Jake noticed these changes. He noticed each one individually, and each time he told himself it was fine. It was normal. It was just how things evolve. And then, one Tuesday, he was sitting in the back of a Rolls-Royce outside a restaurant where 14 people were waiting for him. And he looked at his phone. And the most recent personal message was a thumbs up emoji. And the most recent text was from a man paid to text him about sneaker humidity. And Jake understood that the changes had not been fine. They had been accumulating quietly into a life that was extraordinary in every measurable way, and profoundly empty in the way that measurements cannot capture. The security arrived at year one of the billions. Jake hired a security detail because people advised him to, and at first it felt like protection. And then it started to feel like separation, because the security detail did not just protect Jake from threats, it protected him from randomness, from the accidental human encounters that ordinary life is full of. The stranger who strikes up a conversation at a coffee shop, the neighbor who waves from across the street, the person in the elevator who makes an unexpected joke. All of those disappeared when the security detail arrived. And Jake did not notice what he had lost until he was sitting in the back of a Rolls-Royce, counting the days since anyone had accidentally spoken to him. The Philanthropy started in year 2. Jake donated $200 million to a foundation he created, and the donation generated enormous goodwill. Events in his honor, buildings with his name, articles about his generosity, and none of it, not one moment of it, filled the specific emptiness that the money had created, because the people at the events were grateful to his foundation, not to him, and the buildings with his name were monuments to his wealth, not to his character. And Jake started to understand something about philanthropy that the articles never mention, that giving money away at scale is just as isolating as accumulating it, because it still requires people to see you as a source of something, rather than as a person who needs something. The morning routine at year 3 of the billion started later, because there was nothing that required Jake to be anywhere at any specific time. And Jake had always believed that freedom from obligation was what he wanted, until he had it, and discovered that obligation, the requirement to show up, the necessity of being needed, was not a burden he had been carrying. It was a structure that had been holding him up, and without it, the mornings felt weightless in a way that was not liberating, but untethering, like floating in a direction he had not chosen. Here is the moment that changed everything for Jake. It was a Wednesday morning. He was in his home in Malibu, which has 14 rooms, and he walked into the kitchen, and the kitchen was empty. Not because his staff had not arrived. His staff had been there since 6 a.m. The kitchen was empty of people who were there because they wanted to be. And Jake made coffee, alone, in a kitchen that cost $4 million, and stood at a window that looked out at the Pacific Ocean. and felt something he had not expected to feel. At $2.3 billion, he felt ordinary, not in a grounding way, not in a humble way, in a quiet, devastating way, like someone who had climbed to the top of a mountain and discovered that the view was beautiful and completely silent, and there was nobody standing beside him to see it. Here's the truth about the dark reality of being a billionaire that this video was built to deliver. Money solves the problems that money can solve. Jake never worries about rent, never worries about medical bills, never worries about his children's education or his parents' comfort in old age. Those problems dissolved the moment the billions arrived, and he is genuinely grateful for that. But the problems that money cannot solve got louder, not quieter: the need for genuine connection, the hunger for relationships where the power is equal, the desire to be known rather than recognized, the requirement for a morning that matters because someone needs you in it. Those problems do not respond to money. They respond to presence, to vulnerability, to the willingness to be ordinary in front of people who are allowed to see you that way. And at $2.3 billion, being ordinary is the one thing Jake cannot afford. Because the moment you have that much, ordinariness is no longer a state you can return to. It becomes the thing you lost, and the thing you are always quietly reaching for. Jake gets out of the Rolls-Royce, walks into the restaurant, and 14 people stand up when he enters. And Jake smiles and sits down. And the dinner is excellent, and the conversation is perfectly calibrated, and nobody asks Jake how he's actually doing. And Jake does not tell them, and $2.3 billion sits in accounts around the world, generating returns, while the sneaker curator sends a follow-up text, and the daughter's thumbs up sits unacknowledged, and Jake orders the fish, and the evening is beautiful and almost entirely empty. You have been decoded. If this video showed you something about wealth that the jets and the yachts never reveal, subscribe to Money Decoder 3004. Every single week, we decode the financial and human reality of money at every level. Simply, honestly, and clearly. Drop a comment below. Would you trade everything for $2.3 billion, knowing this is what comes with it? Tell me honestly. I read every single comment, and I will see you in the next decode.